listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Sean Priest.
Oh, happy Monday, Sean. How are you?
Bow wow, Stephen Scott. How are you, sir? Don't play that sound effect.
I was tempted. Oh, there we go. There we
How
go.
is Oni, by the way, the double tap dog?
Do you know, it's funny you say that because I get a lot of emails from people saying, tell us more about the dog.
Yeah, let's
no one cares about anything.
Sean.
Yeah, stop talking to Sean and stop that tech nonsense. Stop pretending you're a tech show and talk about the dog. No, Oni's good. You know, he's growing up because, you know, he's a sheepadoodle, right, as I mentioned before. And these dogs tend to be either fairly, I'd say almost like a Jack Russell in size, that kind of small dog, or monstrously huge.
Oh, and Oni is...
Well, we're 6 months in, and I'm told 18 months. I think it's 18 months, my wife said. She does all the research on this stuff. And she said, I think it's 18 months is the point where they stop growing anymore. So whatever size he gets to
Nice.
at 18 months, that's how big he'll be. Well, we're 6 months in.
How big is he now?
Well, 6 months in, and he's as big as Coco the guide dog, who's a Labrador.
Wow. You've got Clifford the big red dog there. I think you're in trouble.
Do you know what? I kind of love it. I've always wanted a big dog. Not that I don't like little dogs, but I just,
They
I
worry
like
me.
big. Well, I exactly. I worry about falling over. Or, when I had Dougal,
Sitting on.
I used to fall over him all the time. He got used to me, mind you. I mean, fair enough. After the third or fourth time of me falling over him, he got very used to the idea. This guy can't see what he's doing, so I'm going to get out of his way.
So interesting you say that. I've got a couple of friends who always say, oh, he knows, doesn't he know? Isn't that amazing? No, my dog doesn't know I can't see. He gets in front of me all the time, trips me up. He has no idea, I am sure.
I think he knows. I think he just plays you.
Okay.
That's what I think is probably going on,
He
to
does
be
it on
perfectly honest.
purpose.
Yeah, he's
I've
doing
got
it.
an evil dog.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. He's doing it for his own. I was going to say something that's entirely inappropriate, but his own enjoyment.
Well done. Oh, wow. Let's move on very, very quickly.
I kind of forgot where I was there for just a second.
Wow.
Well, it's a good job we've got. Yeah, you know who here. I salute you, sir. I salute you. Okay, let's. Do you know what? I think we should do some emails today. Let's just dive right into the inbox because you know what it's like. Let's get some emails on. Come on.
Email. We get email.
We do.
We get your email
Every day. I can't resist it.
I know.
Here's your mail today.
I do love an email. Email. Right, shall we get into some emails then? Where will we start? Let's start with Glendon. This is a cool one. So, Glendon wants to talk about a rather unusual television advert. What a cool way to start.
Hi, Stephen, Sean, Laura, and our Double Tap family. Before going on with a recording of an interesting new television commercial I saw today, I would like to first mention that my wonderful communications company has addressed the problem of Spanish coming up for listeners in audio description for blind people on occasion.
Yeah.
Rather than tell you what they did, I recorded what happens when I click on audio description now in my neck of the woods.
Roger's main menu. Press up or down arrow to review categories. Press right or left arrow keys to review items. Press OK to select. Accessibility settings. Closed captioning on selected. Press closed captioning options. Audio language, SAP, reset. This reset audio description on selected. Listen to audio descriptions of a program's key visual elements. Note, when audio descriptions aren't available, you may hear Spanish or another language instead.
Also, I would like to just play another recording I made of a mind-boggling commercial that came up while I was watching SWAT today. I have as many questions as I do comments about it, but I would much rather hear Stephen's and Sean's thoughts and all the Double Tappers' feedback first. I often wonder what you think about some of our feedback emails, Laura, but I figure you would rather stay out of the politics. So here goes, with my voice memo recorded on my iPhone XR.
For those of us who are partially blind, accessing information can be a struggle. A white cane is still our traditional method of communicating our situation to others, and we also have this checkered eye symbol that we can wear. Please look for this symbol, now being used in many countries around the world. Though wearing this won't improve our access to information, it will help you understand us. For details, visit checkeredeye.com and please pass it on.
You can't put that right in the dishwasher. Why?
Best regards, Glendon.
Wow.
So many questions. Checkeredeye.com. Now, as I've just mentioned that, have you checked that website out?
No.
I mean, we could be getting pranked here.
It could be.
getting
Well,
punked.
I don't. It doesn't sound. I mean, you would have to go to all the effort of creating a commercial for it as well. So I think
Yeah,
that might
that's
be
true.
slightly
Hey, we
less
got-
likely.
We got talented listeners.
That's
It
very
could-
true. Yeah, could all be AI driven. Who knows?
That's interesting, though. Checkered eye symbol, another symbol for the general public to recognize.
So
I mean, it makes
was,
sense.
it was interesting though that it said the white cane is our way of, showing our situation. What was it said? Showing our situation. What does
Yeah,
that
something
mean?
like that.
What
Well, no,
situation?
we've said that ourselves. I mean, yeah, maybe the
Identifying
wording's-
us. Yeah, the wording is poor on that.
Identifying our disability. I mean, no matter which way you try and phrase it, you're going to upset somebody, right? To show that we're handicapped. I mean, the partially blind thing was something that went, oh, that sounds weird to me. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's another way. We talk about personalizing canes, and there's that whole debate about, you can't change the colors of a cane because they symbolize something. Maybe this is another way around that.
Well, the checkered eye thing, I mean, it may be different in different countries because there are different ways to do it. I know I've heard of the sunflower scheme, which is
Yes.
more about hidden disabilities.
Invisible disabilities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and invisible disabilities. So, hidden disabilities doesn't sound quite right, does it? Sounds like I'm not telling you what it
away.
is. I'm not telling you. You need to guess. But no, it just seems like it's a way to essentially say to someone, I'm disabled, and I don't have to say it out loud. I'm not against that stuff personally. I know some people don't like that. I think it depends on the situation. I think it depends where you're at. I've used the sunflower symbol quite a few times. I use it at airports. I use it at train stations.
Really?
And I'll tell you why. Because, if I am wandering around because, look, you go into a train station, say in the UK, and you want to get some assistance. The problem is finding assistance.
Yes, you are so right. Impossible.
What you really want to do is wear a big giant magnet around your neck that only attracts other people who are magnetized to that magnet and our assistants.
No,
And
what you gotta
essentially,
do?
since that's not been invented yet, they have this sunflower thing. So someone will walk up to you and say, "Hey, can I help you?" And then you go, "Yeah, that's great." And
You play that blind role, don't you?
Yeah,
you
well,
make
you do,
yourself into that visible blind man. That's a weird choice of words. But,
you'll have the NFB on your case with that one.
I will start, maybe tapping something like, what's this? Trying to pretend and just trying to get yourself noticed so you do get that assistance. It's very strange, but I know what you mean. I don't know.
Oh, no, hang on. What about the other one? Do you ever do that favorite one of mine, which is the silence? Everyone goes quiet and you go, "Hello?" And just hope that someone responds.
Is anybody there? It's like a seance to the sighted. Yes. Can anybody hear me?
Can anybody hear me? I sense sighted people. Anyone around?
Everywhere.
Yes.
But they've all got earpods in and they cannot hear.
I was coming to visit you, and I got to Manchester train station, and again, same thing, right? I couldn't find anybody, and there was a group of people chatting away, and I'm like, "Hello, could you help me, please?" And this guy's, "Yeah, no problem, sir. Where are you going?" And I explained to him, and he took me to the assistance desk. And
Yes.
and I thought, "Oh, that's great. Really kind of you." I said, "Thanks a lot for that. I really appreciate that." And he's like, "No problem." He says, "Have a good day." And he says to the person, "Will you be okay? Can you deal with this gentleman, please?"
Deal with it.
Basically, yeah. Can you deal with this now? Because I'm done with them. And they're like, "Yeah, no problem, sir. That's no problem." And then he asked what train he could get to where he was going. And at that point, I realised, oh, it's not a member of staff. This was just a member of the public.
Yeah, but
I just
we have
approached
no
and very
idea.
kindly helped me out. And I thought that was really nice of him, Really nice
That's
guy.
because people are great.
Young
Stephen's
people,
got
by
that.
the way.
Keep-
Young
keep
people,
saying.
you know what? Kids, terrible. But young people,
Oh.
fantastic.
Do you still get that slight feeling when you're walking up to a shop or something and there's a group of I believe over here in the UK they're called hoodies.
Youths.
Outside, ne'er-do-wells.
Yes.
And you know what? I still get that. I still feel slightly. Then you feel a bit. Oh God, I'm a grown man. Why I'm feeling slightly nervous about walking past a group of kids. But you know what? 99% of the time, they're absolutely fine. They're
honestly,
great.
I remember once. I think I told you this story about the time I ended up under a bridge in Birmingham, and there I am walking.
Times were hard. Yes.
And I'm walking along, and I'd taken a completely, wrong turn somewhere, and I ended up under this bridge, and there was a group of kids, like just hanging about, and I could hear them talking. And that sound of them talking under the bridge, that echo that comes, and I'm just expecting a car to be on fire.
You're going through all those terrible movies. About,
every kind of worst situation. It's a scene from Thriller. Everything. It's all coming to life. And then, this kid comes up to me, young guy, and he's like, "Can I help you? Where are you going?" And just in that split second, you think, that's it, I'm done for.
Yeah.
And there goes my wallet, there goes my phone. And he's like, "No, where are you going?" And I was explaining to him where I was going. And he took me to the door of the place. I wasn't that far away, actually. And he said, "Oh, you're not far. I'll take you there. Do you want to take my arm?" I honestly was blown away. I'm like, this is not what I was expecting. And I'm not going to say there aren't bad people in the world. Of course there are.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's something about blind people. People treat differently. Yes, I know some people don't like the interactions, and I get that. I read all about the interactions people get, and sometimes people get really annoyed at just kind interactions. I'm tending to soften to that a little bit, because I think people are just generally trying to be nice. They're not out to harm or cause trouble. And look, let's be honest about it. If by them helping me a little bit makes their day a little nicer, you know what? Let it be. Let it be.
Oh, you are so zen, Stephen Scott.
I'm chilling
okay?
out. I'm getting to that point where I used to be a guy who would shout and scream. You could chart this show back to the days I would yell and rail again. I'd be arguing against myself right now. Those people that say, "What would you say to yourself 10 years ago?" I'd be screaming at myself right now. I'd be saying, "What are you doing?" But no, I've kind of chilled on this a bit.
I think we're swapping personalities.
I think we are, because you're getting more grumpy.
I am. I took the dog out 2 days ago. I took the dog out, and I heard someone coming through the gate. So I stopped and told the dog to wait while I let someone come through. And they stopped and said, "Oh, thank you very much." And they said, "Oh, are you training your dog? Because he's a golden lab." I said, "No, he's just a family dog. He's not a guide dog at all."
He's not a real dog.
Oh, well, at least he's a friend for you, isn't he?
At least he's your friend.
I was so hyped.
But what do you do? I mean, look, but what do you say? How can you change the world on that, right? I mean, you're not people. I know there's people who would want to, start
but what's wrong
reading
with that?
Excerpts from the Riot Act. I understand that feeling.
I do have human friends, it's not just dogs that are my friend.
But you know what? I've found this over the years, right? If you start telling people stories about your life, right? So if you start to say, "Hey, I do this for a living," and all the rest of it, I'm convinced right now that people who live nearby us do not think for a second I do this show. I think they think I come up here and just do this, and it's just for my own enjoyment. I'm really doing. I'm just chatting to you. No, there's no recording going on. There's no show.
Absolutely.
This is all just in his head. It's just he's just
Sarah
in there
thinks
recording
that
a
right
little
now.
show. Well, my wife thinks the same, actually. Yeah. So maybe it's nothing to do with blindness. Actually, maybe it's just what we exude. Maybe we just enjoy each other's company too much, and people just say, "Oh, come on, this two are just having a carry on." But no, I just think, there comes a point where, I understand the frustrations because I went through all this. I absolutely understand it. But a lot of it, I think, my feeling on it is a lot of it has come down to my own frustrations with myself, not necessarily the frustrations with other people. We often say it's other people are the problem. The biggest problem for blind people is other people. I hear that all the time. And I used to say that all the time as well. I used to be one of those people.
Yeah.
The attitudes of others are the problems that cause us the problems. But as I've gotten used to what I've got in terms of vision and dealt with it, and it's day by day, because like you were having the bad day last week. Yeah. It's the same for me. I have those bad days too, and the frustration comes, and then I take it out on someone else, and that's the problem. So I'm taking it out on someone else, but is it actually about them or is it about me? And
Yeah, of course.
I think the problem is we just become hypersensitive when we have those bad days, don't we? Because we're so aware of it. And, it's like you were saying about knocking cups over and, you can't bump in. I'm bumping into doors all the time or the edges of doors. And it just, every time you're like, come on,
Yes.
let me go through one door,
That's putting it very politely.
Yeah, I know.
What I usually, yes. Exactly.
And me. Yeah. I'm tidying it up for Mr. F. Yeah. Thank you. What were we actually talking about this advert?
Yes.
Yeah. What were we actually talking about with this ad?
The advert, yes. A checkered...
the checkered eye. Yeah, look what this started,
eye.com.
Glendon. You want to be talking about it. Goodness me. Off on a tangent.
Okay, but thanks for the recordings as well. Nat Rogers' audio description thing, I actually quite like that. It gave you a description of what it was and it explained the Spanish thing, right? So that makes sense. That was cool.
Seemed pretty good to me. Yeah, I liked it. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Right, this is why we don't get through many emails.
I know. Let's move
Speed
on.
up.
We should just play them all and then do like another show responding to them then. That's how we should do it. Right, Frank's been in touch. Let's hear from Frank.
Hi all. After the problems I had with OrCam, they eventually called me back after 13 days, telling me they had some tech problems. How many times have we heard that? By this time, my OrCam reader had started to work, but I was informed that I could do a reset by using the power button. Pressing it for 20 seconds would reset the reader. But I was informed that I would need to use a timer in conjunction with the power button. At least I now know what to do, even though it took such a long time. Tech works well some of the time, but not always. The RNIB have been having trouble with banking for some time. I use a master debit card to buy goods, but this card has not been working with the RNIB, but it does work elsewhere. When things go wrong with IT, it always seems to take an age to put things right. Is tech getting too technical, or is the training not keeping up to date? Now let me clear something up for all you good people over the water. The land of the Angel of the North refers to a rather large statue that has been erected on the borders of Gateshead in the northeast of England. I do not know the relevance or reason for the statue, it's just there. To me, with my level of sight, it looks like someone has crashed a square-winged aeroplane tail first into the ground. The statue is made of bronze and is very tall. So now you know as much as me about the Angel of the North. One more little thing. I send my shopping list to my daughter after I've dictated it on my iPhone. This in itself can be frustrating as the Notes app is not very good at getting the words right. Is there another Notes app available on the iPhone that will allow me to send my list via text? I have tried one or two, but they always have lots of ads and are connected to already existing stores. I only need to make a list of what I need. Regards, Frank.
That sounds like something AI could solve, doesn't it? I mean, just make this into a list, and this is where Apple Intelligence could come into its own in some ways.
Yeah, and Apple Intelligence will be inside Notes as well. So is the problem there with the dictation inside Notes? It's getting words wrong? I don't know. It's difficult with a shopping list. Is the words that it's getting wrong sort of brand names and things like that? It's quite difficult thing to handle. But yeah, I would hope that Apple Intelligence, you could simply say when you finish dictating, make this right.
Yeah, turn it into a list. Bullet point this.
Yeah, I don't know of a particular. I mean, drafts is always one that's mentioned to me when it comes to taking notes. But for a shopping list, honestly, I don't know. We'll throw that one out to our beautiful listeners.
Yeah, I do love. That's one of the things I love about Britain is the fact that nobody really knows why anything happens. It just kind of does. You go to other countries and they tell all these stories about why this is there and why that's there and what this is for and what that meant.
The Angel of the North.
Here it's just like, I don't know, it just appeared one day. People seem to like it. Yeah. It hasn't fallen over yet. That's a success.
A massive metal angel stuck in a field up north. Yeah, what more do you need to know?
I think it's just
beautiful.
Like welcoming you to the north of England, isn't it? Is that not kind of the only purpose of it?
I don't know
either. Anyway, let's not dwell on that.
Let's leave that there.
And yes, OrCam. I mean, look, I'm not going to dwell on that one because there's nothing much to say. There's just nothing we can add to that because we still have no information, no actual information, despite there being reports of solutions. In the sense of OrCam are apparently going. I mean, this is the rumor. Apparently, OrCam are going to be working only with distributors for the Read and the MyEye products. And some distributors have been in touch with us to say that may well be the case. Mm-hmm. Nothing's confirmed. OrCam have said nothing. The only thing they're talking about is OrCam here. They want to move into this new market with hearing devices. And I think it's great. And I've reached out and said, look, come and talk about it because I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear about here. But
Ironically enough.
yeah, but I can't even get them on to
Not
talk
hearing
about that.
anything.
And I don't know what is going on. I have no idea. And I don't want to speculate any further than that because I just don't know. So I'd just be making it up. Okay, thank you for the message, Frank. Love your emails. Leannda has been back in touch.
Hi, thanks as usual for the brilliant show. Regarding the price of Braille displays, etc., Stephen, I absolutely agree with you, but I don't think Braille itself will die because of this. But people's ability to access these products after education will make them not use Braille as much, which is a great shame. Also, has anyone else had their eloquence voice disappear after the latest iOS update? All the best, Leannda.
Yes, that happened to me. Now, I know this email's a little bit older, so things have improved a little bit by then. It did disappear from me. I told you this, Sean Priest, and you said I was a liar. You called me a liar.
I have no memory of this whatsoever, but
That's
I will say
convenient.
yes, I did.
Well, legally, and I have no recourse on this, but I heard it, so therefore that's it. But no, you were convinced I was talking nonsense, and then I did go in and spend some time in there. But of course, they had changed the layout of the voiceover speech settings, and it was a bit tricky at the start to get my head around how to actually get in and change the voice.
Yes. So we're talking about the update from to iOS 18.
Yeah.
With the big
the
updates
first time
in the
round,
settings. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and the voices, had changed. It was a little bit different to what we're used to.
Yeah.
Now, I was saying that usually when you update and you lose your voice, it's because you've been using a Siri voice. That seems to be 99% of the problem. Yeah. But you did mention that you lost your eloquence as well.
I didn't tell you. So I have been, I have to say, I've been seeing someone else in the voice category.
What? How dare you, sir? Who?
Siri Voice 4, UK English. A Yorkshire lass.
Yes.
I've been moving away from her, and instead, Nathan is my guy.
Oh, really? Now, where's Nathan from?
He's from the phone. America, I think. It's American English.
Is it US? Okay.
US English. He is. That is an incredibly good voice. Very clear, very crisp.
Stop it.
And do you know what?
It's yourself.
I'm just, me. I love a change. I mean, I think you know me well enough to know I get bored easily, and I like to change things. This office being one. I think we're still recovering from this. But yeah, I do like to change my voice up every so often. I think the voice just grates on me after a while. And on the iPhone, though, I don't know. It seemed very eloquent, seemed really punchy. So it was kind of annoying me. So I decided to switch over to Nathan. I've since switched over. Nathan's on my Mac as well. I've muted my speech at the minute, but so I will check that.
You're
but no,
flighty.
I am flighty when it comes to voices. But Nathan's my current.
You can't
beau.
commit.
He's my beau.
I know. I actually got a message from you. I'm telling the listeners, Stephen. I actually got a message from you saying, "Oh, listen to how good that sounds. Doesn't that sound amazing?" Yes, okay. It's a voice. What's the matter with you?
This is you. This is it's like colour. You get no colour in your life, Sean Priest.
How dare you? Look, I love a new voice as much as the next man. I'm just saying, Nathan, it just sounds like anyone else. It's nice.
Just a guy. Well, he's got a guy with a good voice. I like his voice.
Well,
here's a question, actually. Which celebrity would be the best voice?
Samuel L. Jackson.
Well, it's funny. That was the name I thought of as well. But we had that with Lady A, right? Didn't we go through all this with Lady A?
Never got it here in the UK.
No, it never came here.
It was a travesty, but yes.
I think Stephen Fry. Could we get him? Wouldn't that be the best text-to-speech
It sends me
voice?
to sleep all the time, though, because Harry Potter is constantly playing every night in our house. If you walk along a landing in our house, you'll hear Harry Potter come from somewhere. Stephen Fry just talking us to sleep. He's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I do like Stephen Fry's voice. Morgan Freeman as well. That's another voice I enjoy.
Yeah. James Earl Jones was another one, of course. Sadly,
that was an amazing
not with
voice,
us anymore.
Yeah. I'm all for that. Stephen Fry on the phone. Can someone make that happen?
Make that happen. Come on, Stephen. He's a listener, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm
he
sure
loves
that's
his tech, Stephen Fry.
He does. Oh, he absolutely does. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on because actually, there's one other thing that you mentioned there, Leannda, which I didn't mean to skip by, but I just remembered. Price of tech. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting point you make about the availability of the tech after education, because you're right. if the kids have access to this technology during their education, then they leave school. How do they access it unless they go into a job right away? And is that going to happen? And that's a great question, actually. So, yeah, that's another interesting perspective on that whole debate around access. You know, I'm not sitting here saying that Braille is going to die. I don't think Braille will die, but I think if we're not considering these issues around access and around teaching, then what else is going to happen? The rise in use of audio, the rise in use of computers and phones with audio, the move towards that, you know, using computers all the time, you know, we're there. It's not coming. So, you know, that's and kids need to learn how to use those tools. They need to be using those tools.
Maybe it's the term die that seems a little harsh, like it's just going to suddenly just totally disappear. I think it's going to be a long, drawn-out process of people just forgetting about Braille because audio's available, and we've got to be very, very careful of it.
Listen, if Braille is a man living his life,
here we go.
I think he's about 80.
Oh,
that's my take on it. See what I mean?
Yes.
Well, look, if you look at the numbers, again, look at the stats around this, right? The number of people learning Braille is going down and down and down because the number of teachers are not available.
Yeah, but is that? Are we really? Is that a fair correlation? That it is purely down to the lack of resources when it comes to teaching exposure at a younger age, or is it down to the people are choosing to use audio over whatever else? Because
who are the people though?
Unless you got hearing difficulties, then it's just more available to you.
But who are the people you're talking about? So we're talking the teachers, right? So the teachers are the ones that make the decisions on what the kid's learning. And the TVIs, the teachers of visually impaired children, will be likely to say, "Hey, look, use this. It's audio. This is better. This is connected to this thing you're going to have to learn anyway, which is a computer or Windows." And you know, if it's coming to, you know, and this is the whole thing. You know, if you're teaching a kid, what are you wanting to make sure they have access to? You know, what do they need? What do they really need to be successful? You know, I take issue with the idea that you need Braille to have a successful career. I think that was true 40 or 50 years ago. I don't think it's true today. I don't think you need to have Braille in your life. Some people will say this. They say, you know, if you don't have Braille, you don't have literacy, you can't get a job, you won't be successful, or you won't be as successful as you could be. I think that was true at one time because there was no other way. You needed Braille in order to consume information. You don't need Braille as a blind person today to consume information. I go back to that conversation we had with the judge, David Tatel, and he didn't use Braille. And he said, and you know, let's be honest, look how successful he became, right? Look how well he got on. And, you know, I don't think it's true to say anymore, especially with access technology, that you need Braille. Yes, I think it's a great addition, and I think those of us who are later in life learning it get benefit out of it. I mean, you know, I saw someone the other day commenting on your issue with the credit card, trying to get the numbers, and they're like, that's what Braille is brilliant for. You know, they say
absolutely
you can
true.
Totally have that information available to you whenever you want. You don't have to deal with a computer, pull a computer out or a phone out every single time, read by character and all that nonsense. You don't have to do that. But I don't know if you need it these days to survive. In certain fields, perhaps. I mean, look, in mathematics and science, I think there's, you know, definitely, well, I don't think, I know, yes, clearly there are fields you would need it. But I think you can have a career and be successful without Braille. I think that's possible. In fact, it is possible. Let's just say that. Of course it's
possible, yes.
You know, I think there's a little bit of, sometimes there's a little bit of, sometimes people are so keen to keep the idea of Braille alive, they almost lie to you. They always tell you lies to say, well, you know, it's literacy. It's the most important thing. I don't say it's literacy. I don't say Braille is literacy. I say Braille is access to literacy. There's a difference. Braille is not literacy in and of itself. You can be literate in many different ways. You know, the same people who talk about literacy and Braille will often say reading or listening to an audiobook is the same as reading it. Well, if you carry your view all the way through that Braille is the only thing that's literacy, then listening to an audiobook is not reading. But it is. You're reading a book. You're listening to it. You're taking in that information.
It's difficult because we're just naturally defensive about the importance of Braille, right? I think that's That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, but the
No one
people
wants to
you
see
think
Braille
are,
display.
but the people you think are taking away from you are not. Right? The issue right now is the issue that's been happening for decades. This is decades-long problems, decades-long decline in teaching of Braille. That's the issue we need to deal with. If you want to keep Braille alive, you've got to make sure kids are being taught Braille.
Yeah.
And they're not. What was that NFB statistic? 10% of all kids in the US are learning Braille? I mean, 10% of all blind kids?
Yeah.
On that basis, Braille is dead. It'll be 5% in a few years, and then it'll be gone. And then what? You know, and people say, oh, well, you know, it died. And how did it die? Because no one listened to what the problems were. This was all coming down the line. It was all perfectly clear. And no one did anything about it. The cost of the equipment is too high, and no one's being taught it. That's the problem. The gap is there.
Someone could equally argue that it's not the exposure to it, it's not the cost of the equipment, it's simply that it was superseded by a superior technology such as text-to-speech.
I think you could make that argument as well. Yeah, I think you could easily make that argument. And I think that, I don't know if it's superior, but I think that the children of today growing up, and, you know, if you were to go to a kid being taught today in 40 years,
accessible.
you know, if you were to go to that kid 40 years later, I think they would say, Braille, whatever. Don't need it. And how many of those kids, and I just think Leannda brings up such a great point, you know, how many of those kids will lose connection with the Braille after education if they don't have ready access to the equipment? Again, it comes back to the point about cost. You can keep saying to me, well, the cost is this because the cost is that. The cost is the problem. There's no way around this. Like, and, you know, you can argue this back and forward all day and night, but the cost is the problem. Because if it's not affordable to people, if you can't buy it, well, it's not going to work for anybody. If the only way you can get access is through education and through employment, what about the people who fall in the gap? That's my question.
We need another show. Let me leave it with this. If everyone got a free Braille display, every single man, jack, child, woman of us got a free Braille display, how many of us would ditch text-to-speech and use Braille?
But no one's going to ditch it for that. That's not what that's
All right,
about.
Okay, let's take that out. Not ditch then. How many people would actually just use the Braille?
Well, listen, the answer to that is with the National Library Service. That's exactly what's going on over there. That's the perfect test bed for that question.
Exactly.
So the question is, who's getting access to this and who's using it? Now, from what I've read online, just purely anecdotal comments from people, they're over the moon to get access to these devices and get access to these books. Now, of course, those people have been taught. Yes, the people have been taught already. But that's the point. It's two-sided. It's not just one thing. Access is one part of it, but you got to make sure people are taught. And if you cannot marry these two together somehow, it will die. I'm sorry, but it will. And you can sit there and say, I'm a terrible person for saying it, and I shouldn't say it, and I'm a horrible person. What? Say what you like. I don't care.
Okay, you're a horrible person.
Thank you.
Stop it.
I'll never do it again. Live.
Wow. Another email. Have we got time?
Yes. Let's go to Mark.
Hi, Double Tappers. Spring has sprung down under, so I thought I'd make a new beginning on trying Braille Screen Input, BSI, now on iOS 18. I think it's a really useful tool to have in the armory once you get your head and fingers round it. I found it a great podcast from the Braille team at Braillecast, episode 77, where Matthew Horspool provides a really great explanation and demonstration of the feature. I would encourage anyone wanting to give this a go to have a listen through your podcaster of choice or online. Hope you don't mind a bit of sharing of a different podcast. We're all on the same learning journey. Keep up the great work, and as always, I'm still enjoying my daily double tap down under. Regards, Mark from Perth in Australia.
I'm not sure how I feel about that phrasing. But, good to know. And of course, we don't mind a little bit of sharing. Excellent job. Matthew does a fantastic job.
That podcast, by the way, you that's one
the Braillecast.
You really must subscribe to that. That is one you should definitely subscribe to because it's brilliant. And those guys are fabulous guys.
Yes,
all of them.
They know their stuff.
Yeah.
Like us.
No, we just sit here promoting all these shows, right? Yeah. we point you to the people who know stuff. That's what we do. We're just basically like ushers in here.
Oh, dear.
But no, I think it's great. And the Braille screen input thing, I haven't really jumped into that too much. I kind of want to. I kind of want to play because that Fun of That podcast was the one I was going to listen to get started on it because Matthew did an amazing job with that.
I know so many people who are over the moon with the BSI in iOS 18. And I was talking to Garth, a good friend of mine, Garth Humphreys. Now, he doesn't really read Braille, but he uses the BSI all the time for texting and, entering text into his phone. He absolutely loves it, and it's quicker for him. And, see, that's one of those interesting things, considering the discussion we just had previously. BSI is something that a lot of people use.
Why is that, though? Here's the question, right? Why is that? And the answer is because it's there and it's available. Didn't have to spend $5,000 to get access to it. I bought an iPhone and it was built in.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if we'll ever get to the point where we can get Braille, like a Braille display, through an iPhone. I don't think that's likely anytime soon. It's not outside the possibility.
What happened to the iPad that Tim Cook said?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
that strange
but
remark?
what's interesting, there's a lot of projects going on around the world at the moment that are kind of focusing on this, trying to build this kind of like Kindle type approach. I remember one years ago called Blitab. I think it came out of Europe somewhere.
I remember that, yeah.
And
I remember the name.
It basically, it didn't use pins. It kind of almost was haptic in its way of, generating the signals so that you could read the Braille. And, if they could get that right and then build that in, because, there's all kinds of potential there. Think about it.
Hang on. Was he just referring to BSI on the iPad, perhaps? Perhaps he was just being far too cryptic.
No, it was a project. It was a Japanese project, which was being referenced. But we never got the information. We did ask, but we never got information any more than that. So I don't know if that project continued. Yeah. Let's move on. Thank you so much for that, Mark. I appreciate that. And enjoy spring. So weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's freezing to death, and you enjoy spring and your nice warm weather. But mind you got all the bugs as well, so I suppose that's
stop
something.
it.
Yeah.
Be nice.
Gregory.
Next email.
Gregory's been in touch.
Horrible man.
Hey, Steve and Sean, this is Gregory again. I was thinking about some of your thoughts about requiring Braille for young children that are visually impaired or blind, not waiting till they're older and maybe not ever learning it. I was just trying to connect the recent news that, Be My Eyes is going to be on the Meta mainstream glasses. Why shouldn't we demand as consumers, sighted and blind, to make sure that all products have what they call universal design that, will require them to be accessible to all. Governmental regulation, I don't know what you guys think, but I was just trying to connect the newest news here lately. So again, thanks, guys, for all you do. And yeah, Be My Eyes and Meta, great news.
Yeah, it is great news. Thank you for that, Gregory. Look, of course, I agree with you 100%. Who wouldn't, right? Universal access, universal design, that's the core principles of any new product, right? But we still seem to be struggling with that. We see that with new products like, Humane is a great example of how you can get it badly wrong. Yes. In the sense that, you build this product, human is in the title, but so many humans are denied access to it because of the interface that's just not accessible, and they didn't ever respond. The amount of times I got in touch with that company, I even got promises from the people who were promoting. I think the couple who were actually involved in actually building this thing. I got assurances they would come on and talk about this, and they never did. And we tried and we tried and we tried, and no one would ever speak to us about it. And it was such a shame that was the case. And that's not why the product failed, which is actually an even bigger shame. It'd be actually kind of nice one day if, not that I want that product to fail, but if a product did fail, it was because of this issue rather than, it's just because everybody hated it.
Yeah, because it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that holy grail? Fully. Remember the discussion we had about using the term fully accessible? It's not achievable, is it? Does that mean we should never try for something being fully accessible?
Yeah, I mean, that's right, because when we talk about fully accessible, the zooming out point is, okay, what does that mean for everybody? So yes, is it accessible for blind people? Great, but then does that mean it's inaccessible for someone else? And that can be the problem. A great example of this was the curb cut, as they tend to call it, essentially the lowered curb on a sidewalk or a pavement. And, that's great for wheelchairs. It's great for prams, mums with prams. It's great for people who struggle to get off the curb, maybe struggle with mobility. But if you've got a guide dog or you've got a cane, you can very quickly be on the pavement, or on the street, on the road itself by accident, because you've, inadvertently just walked off the edge without realizing there's a line between. Now, sometimes, of course, there's a little bit of a lip, and of course, that's what the cane can pick up on, and hopefully the dog would recognize. But, that can cause problems. Shared space environments, for example, in the UK is a big problem, where suddenly we have this situation where, I remember this great advert saying, cars and people will just merge together. And I'm thinking, yeah, I've seen this film before. I don't think it ended well for...
I don't want to merge with a car.
Certainly didn't end well for the humans. The cars, they got a bit dented.
Share space.
It was terrible, right? But that was the whole design. And of course, that created problems. I remember a story of a guy who, with his guide dog, who was, actually found walking up the middle of a road because the dog had no idea where to go.
Yeah.
So, universal design is good for some people sometimes and bad for other people sometimes. So it's a very hard thing to get right.
It's not really
Gregory.
universal then.
Well, no, but that's the problem. So how do you solve that? How do you create an environment that suits us, suits someone in a wheelchair, suits someone who's deaf, suits someone who... It's very difficult. It is difficult. It's challenging. And it's people who are brighter and smarter than us, hopefully, who can give the answers. But I'll tell you one thing. Part of the answer is people being in the room who are disabled. And not just being paid lip service, actually paid for their time to be part of the conversation. And that's the same. And I go back to Glidance with this, because here's an example of a product being built with us in mind, but also with our involvement. I think this is surprising people, because when I say to people, they're looking for feedback, they're like, oh, yeah, but, they'll never implement it. They're asking you now before they build the final product. What do you think? And you need to give your opinion on this, because it matters. This will affect the future of this product. You can sit in your forums and moan about it, or you can actually get in touch and say something. Get involved, because they want to hear, and loads of you have been getting in touch. By the way, we are going to be speaking to Amos very soon, so we are going to be putting your questions to him, and we'll look forward to hearing those.
And we're getting hands-on with the Glide, hopefully.
Going to get hands-on with the Glide, yeah, that'll be fun. Are you going to feel it up and down? You're not going to lick it, are you?
I'm not going to, no. Well, not unless I get my own personal one. I want to see those wheels, and I'm really interested to try this out. I've heard so much excitement about people who have gone hands-on. I want to see if it lives up to it.
Do you know the bit in the video that played? We played the video in a while back, and he'd be standing in the room. Amos is seen standing in the room, and he says, "Hey, Glide, where are you?"
Yes.
And it says, "I'm over here." I think it should be clever enough to wheel its way over to you.
Oh, come and get you. Come and pick you up.
Come and get me.
When you're staggering out of that bar, it's like whistling for your horse in those old westerns. The Glide would come trundling up.
I was thinking less about that and more just, not falling over it. In the house.
That's exactly what I meant as well.
Because I don't know about you, but when I go to get my cane in the morning, I'm falling over like 10 pairs of shoes. So two of us live here, but it's like 20 pairs of shoes downstairs.
Where do you store your canes in your house?
That's a great question. That's a typical blind question to ask.
Thank you.
At the door, just as you come in. I mean, that wasn't their official home. They used to be folded up and put on a little table thing next to the door.
It could be bothered.
But that lasted like 10 minutes, because of course inevitably you'd come in and they were dirty, or there was rain.
Dirty.
They were dirty. And
do you hang them on hooks, or just lean them in the corner?
Hang them on hooks. No, we just leave them sitting in the corner. It's like pool cues, just sitting there.
You grab your favourite one. I Actually, that's a really good analogy. You're right.
Actually, what's cool about it is if you do that, then at least you know who's whose, because my wife is a tiny one because she's tiny.
Yes.
So I get that's her little tiny one. And then mine's is this huge monstrosity over there. And I have some spares as well, because that blue one.
Sarah's has little glittery charms on the handly bit. Yeah. Yes, come on now.
Yeah.
I've got studs and flames up the side, obviously, because I'm a man.
That's right. Okay, let's move on because
yes, please.
I want to bring in. I'm just looking at the time. Yeah, we can bring this one in. So this is from Callum. It's quite a long message, but I want to bring it in because it'll probably lead into our conversation tomorrow. I think we'll probably continue this chat tomorrow. But Callum can kick it off for us. He wants to react to the story of the Neuralink device from Elon Musk's company. This is his take on that.
Hey, Double Tappers, it's Callum here. How easy is this? Double tap finally on WhatsApp. I'm going to have to stop myself from pausing the podcast now and just recording a voice message. It's almost made it too easy.
Oh, just do it.
I want to give a couple of comments sort of in relation to the whole Neuralink thing. I'm not going to get into the whole topic of whether we'll actually see this technology in our lifetime and whether it's overpromising and stuff. I think it is, personally. I'm with Sean, but I'm not going to get too deep into that. But I feel like I'm in a bit of a minority here of people who have been blind from birth. So I've been totally blind from birth, no vision, no light perception, basically nothing. But I actually would take vision given the chance. And I feel like that's a bit of a minority. I feel like there's so much that I'm happy with my life overall. Again, I'm also not into the whole blind pride thing, but I'm okay with it. But I also feel like there is so much that I'd love to actually see and that we miss out on as blind people. And maybe that's just the stage in my life that I'm at. I've recently had a baby. I've got a 3-month-old baby, and it doesn't particularly upset me that I've never seen him because he's literally there in our arms. But at the same time, I would love to see what he looks like, and I'd love to see what my family looks like, what my wife looks like. The special moments, a few years ago, my wife in her wedding dress, for example, those moments, there's only so much that AI and text descriptions can really give you. I feel like sometimes there's nothing like actually seeing it. So there's that. But also I hear this comment a lot about, but if you were to get sight, then you would have to go through rehab. You'd have to relearn everything. And I get that, and I agree with that. You would have to relearn the entire world, essentially. But maybe I'm missing something here, but this doesn't really put me off. I'm not sure I get the argument for why you wouldn't take it, because no one's saying that you can't use your existing skills. Nobody's saying that you can't still use your blind skills that you've got and that you've used all your life and the ways that you've got through life as it is. So I kind of feel like surely you would pick things up as you go, almost. You could still keep doing things the way that you always have if you wanted to. But, for example, let's say your house, for example. You could go in, you already know the layout of your house and, where the different rooms are, where everything is in those rooms. You already know that. So surely you could, as you go through, I'm trying to give a really basic example here, but as you walk into your house, you already know that, say, the first thing you walk into is the front porch. And then you open a second door and you walk into the hallway. And then, I don't know, maybe straight ahead of you is the living room, or to the left is the kitchen. So surely you go, right, okay, this is what my front porch looks like. Oh, this is what the hallway looks like. Oh, that's where the stairs are. Oh, this is what this room looks like. This is what the living room looks like. Oh, so that's the TV. Wouldn't it work like that? Maybe because I've not had vision, I'm missing something. I don't know if you guys have any insight on that, or if any of the listeners do. But I I mean, it would be huge. It would be scary. It would be a massive change. I'm not denying that. But that doesn't particularly put me off either, to be honest. And I'm not really sure I get the argument to say that it would. So, yeah, that's just a few thoughts from me on that. I don't know if I've started a whole other load of controversy there by saying that by saying I wouldn't see it as too much of a big deal, because that's not what I'm saying. It would be a big deal. But for me, yeah, I don't know. I think the pros still outweigh the cons for me. But yeah, keep up the good show. Nice work on finally getting WhatsApp. And thanks for all the shows while I was in hospital as well. I'm glad to say that I'm now out of hospital.
Yay!
And recovering well. And yeah, those shows definitely kept me going. So yeah, cheers, guys. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you for that, Callum. And look, I'm glad you're feeling better. That's the important thing, right? I'm really glad you're feeling better now.
Yes.
Listen, it's so interesting, isn't it, that when you broach this topic, there's a fear, isn't there? There's a fear of bringing this up. It's like, oh, we're going to offend people by saying, getting your sight back would be, a good thing. I'm kind of with you on this, Callum. Look, I don't know. I'm saying that from the point of view of someone who just wants their full vision back. I have got some remaining vision, but it's, irritating vision is what I like to call it. I used to say useless, but then I think when you start to do things, whenever you try to use that remaining vision, that's when you realize how irritating it actually is. And so, yeah, I'd be quite happy to get my full vision back. And I think most people, I'm going to say this, most people who've lost vision would probably want that vision back. I think that's fair to say. I think people who lose vision later in life or through their life would probably want to go back to where they were. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing to say that. But it's probably the first time I've heard someone who said no vision ever saying, actually, do you know what? Yeah, give me some sight. Let's see what it's like.
Well, we always hear it, the opposite view to that of someone getting their vision back and it being too much, overwhelming, overstimulating, having that vision back. I don't know how true that is. But
that's the impression, right? That we don't know if that's. I'm trying to think if there's any stories. There probably are stories of people who have had their vision come back. I remember one guy in particular. I think he was born. He was very young when he, like a baby, when all his vision went, and it came back later in life. So I don't know what that kind of situation would bring up.
And what was his response to it? That's the thing.
Yeah, that's what you want to know, isn't it?
I'm not even sure I've heard, actual factual stories about people getting their sight back and not being able to cope with it, or it's just all, I don't think I'd be, opinion, exactly right. But I think you're right, though, that it is almost like a taboo subject, because you don't want to say, it's almost like you're attacking disability at that point. I think we're getting kind of defensive. I look at disability as, it's something I live with. It's something I work with, but it's still a disability. It's something I've lost. And that's another argument as well. If you've been blind since birth, never had vision before, or if you've had vision before, you have that extra feeling of a loss. You've lost something that you had, which you don't get if you've never had vision.
That's right, yeah. When one person's normal, is a different person's normal to them.
Yeah.
Someone who's been blind since birth, that's normal to them. There's nothing unusual about that to that person. I think that's the bit that confuses it, because the problem with the word normal is...
Stop using the word normal. No, we'll get in trouble.
But that's important, because the word normal is attached to, you might argue, fully functioning eyes or fully functioning legs or fully functioning function. Whatever the function is, it's fully functioned. Yeah. So, that's the normal word is associated with that. But actually, that's not what normal is. Normal is what you are used to, you as an individual. That's why, these conversations need to be broadened out. And it's important we do have these chats. But, what you're talking about there, Callum, is an opinion. That's your opinion, and you're right to have it. And, this is the problem, this idea of there's a community view on this. I hate all that nonsense, because there's not a community view on any of this stuff. It's all personal opinion. It's your choice. It's your feeling about it. You might get all your vision back and think, goodness me, this is terrible. Or you learn to live with it in the same way that if you lost your vision, you'd hate it and then get used to it, right? So it can kind of go both ways, arguably. So I don't think there's any issue in bringing it up. It's a great point, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's almost like you feel, sometimes you feel like, I can't say that because it feels like I'm betraying the community, my
Yes.
people. I can't say that, but yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I think the majority of people would say, yes, I would love to get my vision back because it feels like life would be easier. I'd be able to accomplish maybe more. And again, just saying that sentence of I can accomplish more, some people will say, well, I can accomplish lots.
Again, it's the word more, right? So more what, right? So I mean, what I would say is different experiences. So, like for example, right?
Yeah.
I know if I could see, I'd be a bus driver. I know I would, because that's what I always would want to be. Because I grew up around buses. I don't go and get that story, but I grew up around buses. I was raised by buses, not wolves, as some people might think, but buses. And I was around them, and I was obsessed by them, and I collected them, and I had a thing about buses, and I know I would have become a bus driver. I absolutely know that. So if I had full vision back, that is what I would be doing. So there you go. But that's not more of an experience. That's just a different experience. I can't do that at the moment, but I could do it with sight. And I think if we just level out the language a little bit on it, just take the heat out of it a little bit, then I think you might find it gets a bit easier to talk about. But I think it's a great point. I'll be interested to see what other people have got to say.
Absolutely. Thank you, Callum.
Yeah, thank you, Callum. Glad you're on the mend. Glad you're feeling good. Listen, that's it for today. We're back tomorrow with plenty more to talk about. We've got plenty of your feedback to jump into, so we'll dive into that tomorrow. So stay with us and tune in for the next Double Tap. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Bye-bye.